Howdy, and welcome to Risky Standard, everyone's favorite leftist propaganda platform disguised as an actual play podcast, featuring a rowdy group of best friends playing tabletop role-playing games together. I am your host and Firefly for today's game of The Wildsea by Felix Isaacs. You can find a link to The Wildsea, or you can buy it over in the show notes. And you can always find the show over on Blue Sky at Risky Standard. Over in our Discord, where we're posting about the show, posting about some of our new favorite chip flavors, and giving some previews of what's coming up on Risky Standard. And you can also find us over on Patreon. And you can support the show there, help us pay for this extremely ambitious project. With me today, I have got young Pete Loftus.
Sorry, I froze a little bit there. Can you hear me?
Yes, but you look a little, you're pixelated.
Yeah, I think you got some lag going on.
It's that famous New York internet.
Coming to you by satellite transmission with a slight delay from my encrypted network, where I am the deputy head of the Politburo here at Risky Standard, where we're helping to produce lots of propaganda in new and different ways.
We also have Malcolm Hall here with us today.
What's up, risk takers? What's up, gamesters? Sono solo felice de essere qui. I had something else I wanted to say. I totally forgot. Continue.
Bon fortuna.
Yeah.
And we got Timothy Mans here on the mic as well.
Risk takers, I'm saying, we're working on our pickle juice stuff. I'm working on my own little project, and hopefully this can get into all of your mailboxes soon. Just contact me directly.
Pipe bomb.
It's pump up. It's a pump up scent. You get your own little signature scent, and you sniff it. And it really is just perfume. This is Hermes, and it makes your brain work better.
You're describing amyl nitrate. You know
I'm
that,
not.
right?
These are not poppers. These I don't know if we're allowed to have that on the.
They're kind of like
They're
poppers.
They're not poppers. These are
like
Risky Standards pumpers.
Pumpers.
Awful.
But it's a great way to play, just to have a little, olfactory power up.
And to invite the listener in a little bit here, it is worth noting that right before we started recording, Tim did announce that he just needed to get a hit of his pump-up cologne and did proceed to take a big sniff of it with zero explanation.
I'm sorry I didn't have to.
And we're going to be bringing that to you.
Thought it was pretty self-explanatory. Who's pumped up now? Me.
It's like,
baby.
weightlifters do, they do smelling salts before they do a big lift. So much like, in the same spirit, Tim is going to sniff some fancy toilet water from France, and it makes him a better gamer.
Lift and then do a better riff,
I often refer to recording Risky Standard as a kind of a immense physical exertion, for sure.
I usually tell people it's kind of like doing inhalants.
Yeah. And shout outs also to the voice you're not hearing, but the hand that guides us. Our producer Liam, who by the time this is airing will be happily married.
He'll be
shout outs and
Mrs.
congratulations
Liam.
to young
He's
Liam.
I was gonna say he's gonna be Mr. Liam now.
Yes, Mr. Liam.
It's Mr. Liam Doherty.
And just Mr. Liam out in the wings.
They don't have in traditionally surnames or whatever. There's no.
That's the only time you become.
Before you get married, if you're a man, before you get married, there isn't like a certain denomination.
Yeah, you don't have a title or honorific.
And yeah,
I like the idea that you just lose your last name. You become Mr. Liam, Mr. Mitchell.
My first name's Mr. now.
Yeah.
Please call me Mr. I'm married.
And believe it or not, folks, this is an actual play podcast, and today we're playing The Wildsea by Felix Isaacs. All right. Jokes out of the room. We're done. It's time to get real serious.
Yeah, we're being serious now.
Here we are, guys. We're back. Last time that we were all on the record together, we had joined the intrepid crew of the Verdigale as they began their journey across the waves of the Wildsea towards a bustling free port by the name of Caldermere, located in an area of the Wildsea known for its frequent root quakes and the subsequent abundance of salvage that they bring with them. In our last session, the crew experienced one of these root quakes, a vast shifting of the ironwood trees that make up the bulk of the Wildsea. One which opened up a valley in the top layer of the thrash of the Wildsea. Our crew explored that valley to find an abundant grove of a strange fruit known as a tarnana, a banana-like crop whose peels contain a sweet and fragrant black ichor, popular amongst cooks of the Wildsea for its use in desserts. After harvesting a haul of tarnanas and cleaning up the resultant mess, Calathiel and Reese explored the waves underneath the tarnana grove to find the long-destroyed remnants of the farm that used to tend to them. Meanwhile, Hex set about collecting evidence for the first stages of a project to produce a device capable of predicting the frequent but erratic rootquakes of the region. And so, I think we can kind of bring our camera around. I think it is, the next morning, right? The ship the engine is idling, the faint electric hum cutting through all the other sounds of the waking Wildsea as the rays of the sun start to heat up the green treetops. There are birds calling. There's movement in the treetops. The rootquake of yesterday afternoon has been largely forgotten by the wildlife at this point. The insects are swarming joyously, hungrily, and the Wildsea is waking up. And I imagine on the Verdigale, everyone is getting ready to continue the journey. So I thought maybe we could get like a quick, snapshot of each of these characters at work, kind of in the morning before we take the mechanical steps of going on a journey again and continue our path towards Caldermere.
I think that kind of also in pairing with the spores that were kicked up by this root quake, Hex is just doing his kind of like early morning routine of making sure all the connections of wires and from the lightning rod strike are still connected, clearing off any of the tarnana juices that would have gotten onto it, or the spores, just to clear, to make sure connections are good, ready to go. What you would do just to make sure that those like incremental changes are taken care of so that things run smoothly.
Yeah, this ties in really well. I think we've maybe talked about it, but you have the deckside engineer aspect. Which says that tiny incremental adjustments that you make without thinking keep your vessel's hull and superstructure in remarkable shape. And that increases your ship's armor rating by 1 as long as Hex is aboard.
Kind of just without thinking. Get up and make sure everything's locked in before we go.
What kind of mood is Hex in the morning?
I think it's... I don't think it's bad. I think there is always going to be some embarrassment when those, his scientific leanings backfire on him, because that is kind of part of what he is on this ship to do, and no one likes to be like, well, I'm going to do this, and then not really be able to do it like they want. So I think there's not begrudging, but a little like sheepish running through the things he could have done differently, and
you would have never built an engine like this.
But yeah, I don't think it's bad. I think there's running through all the different things he could have done different in his head, and talking out loud a bit to himself as he walks around and, grabs a cup of coffee from Ixtabor and, tries to talk to Ixtabor about the process of what he's trying to do and why it should have really worked better. And Ixtabor kind of just, gives him the cup and pats him on the back as he goes back into the kitchen. And
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, just like I'm talking to a coworker that you not interested in what they're saying, but not wanting to be rude. Just like, yeah,
and it will work. We'll know soon. Thank you for the coffee. And then back to the deck.
Great. Good. Let's turn the camera around. Who else is out and about in the morning?
I think that Calathiel's probably actually using the sickle a bit, clearing out the last of the bramble and the bite. The saw prow here, since I'm sure it's pretty gunked up. I know we were just kind of like burning tar off of the spark plugs in the rear. Maybe this is the equivalent in the front. I think probably working some sort of gooey lumps out of sorry.
Oh yeah, great. Good. Nice fun intro in the morning.
Sorry. working something out of the bite of the prow. I think there's probably some. If we've stayed here overnight, I'm sure the Wildsea's like flora and fauna have already moved in, right? So.
Oh yeah, you're scattering insects with every scrape of the blade. They're they have been, some of it you don't have to clean up. It's been cleaned up by the kind of the cleaning system of Mother Nature.
I love it. Yeah, and I'm now just thinking about like all these little things. I'm sure like with the swipe of this scythe, you see a whole bunch of like more than you would expect, right? And then like I keep leaning into like what these little ecosystems must look like in the Wildsea. So I'm imagining like some grubs sort of squirming away, but have little tiny wings and are in flight. And that's when you see like the bird snatch one up, right? And there's just like. In this one task, there's probably like 5 or 6 different little critters that all play out their own little dramas in this moment.
Absolutely. And so I think it brings us around to Reese. Where are you at in the morning?
Reese is sort of clambered onto the sort of prow part of the ship. I think one of these mighty tusks that protrude out of the front of the Verdigale. And he's like sketching in his notebook. I think that our presence overnight has kind of drawn the eye of some squirrels trying to I think they're doing their best to conceal themselves, but like Reese can kind of see them peeking their heads out, popping back down like meerkats.
I imagine like the longer you're there doing it, more of them start to pop up over time, like kind of like you hear the chitter and call as like they are observing the ship in its state of rest. The squirrel, I think, probably one of the most like prevalent mammals on the Wildsea that has kind of sustained itself through the verdancy and found a new kind of life amongst the world of trees. A comfort there that a lot of other creatures probably were not able to adapt as naturally or as easily to this new forest world.
I think it also in the book they say the Krezron is kind of sped up the squirrel evolution.
Yeah, I think that I'll say now. I think probably some of the squirrels that you're seeing have what we would regard as clothing. Not like a full
cloths.
like borrower outfit.
Developed shame.
Yeah. But I mean like I think probably one of them has like what is Le Guin calls it, right? Like the first sign of evolution, right? Some of them have satchels. They have like it is like leaf and twine, but they're carrying bags. They are collecting things and not just burying them in the ground and hoping to remember them, right? There is organization there.
Yeah, and I think Reese is he's sketching some of these squirrels until one of them gets maybe a little brazen and like throws a rock. And it sort of like hits the prow right next to him. He goes like, okay, well, maybe it's time to pack it up for the day.
It's like a caricature of one of them enjoying a sport.
Yeah, it's riding a dune buggy. Yeah.
And I think amidst all of this, right, I think Claremont is kind of marching around the deck as well, doing his like last checks, kind of trying to look useful or appear, trying to be useful is what he's trying to do, but I think there's an element here of like getting to a job that everyone's already done kind of the real work, and so there's a lot of like, well, let me just hand on that rope. Yes, okay, that's bolt down. Yep, it's fastened there. Good. Kind of like standing behind Calathiel, hands on his hips, and he kind of leans to one side to look at the saw blade, and another like sad. Yeah. Some day old deck Tarnana. But no, I think he's kind of giving a supervisory glance over everything before the time in the day arrives where, barring any other kind of moments here or anything he wants to grab hold of, I think it is onwards towards Caldermere. We are on a journey, as I said before, which means that there is a track that is marking the progress of this journey, and each time that you guys travel forward, you mark more progress on this track, but it is a hidden track. You don't know how long you have left until you get to Caldermere. Only I know that. And there's a second track here that has also come into play, and this one you guys do know about. This track is called The Growing Rootquakes, and that is a 5-segment track, and 2 segments of that track have already been marked. We can kind of play to find out what happens, what causes that track to be marked further, and what happens when it is. But this is a measure of these rootquakes, which, as the track implies, are growing. And so today we'll get back on the road, or on the sea, as it were, and continue advancing this journey until we eventually reach Caldermere. So is there anything else there anyone wants to hit? Any questions or any ideas we want to share?
What is for breakfast?
What is for breakfast?
Yeah.
I was thinking about this actually earlier. I imagine it is probably, I was thinking about this. What is Ixtrabel cook on? Because, we've seen like little chemical stoves. Again, the fire is one of the biggest threats on the Wildsea. Fire is incredibly dangerous. It is forbidden in most places because it spreads wildly on this oxygen-rich, forest world, and the mutative crezerin that is in all of the vegetable life on the Wildsea only fuels it and fuels the regrowth of plants that continue to feed fire. And so, an errant spark is incredibly dangerous. So generally speaking, you will never cook with fire. You will always cook with, the different kinds of workarounds. The book has a bunch of fun ideas of what you might use to cook. Chemical stoves is one idea.
Old boats have those sardine stoves. You ever seen those? They're tiny. They're like a tiny little, basically completely enclosed wood stove because, on a boat, fire's pretty bad, but they're these tiny little things I'm imagining that run on some sort of, chemical reaction. Essentially, you're getting chemical heat from it.
Another idea the book offers is pitcher acid, harvested from the guts of a predatory plant. When mixed with salt, the digestive enzymes do a passable imitation of broiling. There's a bunch of different ways. I was actually thinking, though, this boat, the Verdigale, has a higher technology level than most because of the research motif that we chose for it. I kind of like the idea that you get this big electric engine. I think that he maybe has a kind of rigged up induction cooktop. We
have a microwave.
I don't know if you have a microwave per se, but I think he does have some kind of induction cooktop that it's the electricity is generating the heat here, and it's the heat off the engine that's being repurposed for this. But I think he's probably not cooking this morning. I think it's probably instead kind of a kind of granola, I'm imagining, nuts, husks, some grains, something very simple and easy to make. Some kind of coffee-esque liquid. We haven't talked about if you guys have straight up coffee on the boat or not.
I imagine it's more like chicory.
Yeah, some kind of
dried flour.
I imagine if you can get coffee some places, that's probably a pleasant luxury. But I think it's light and simple probably to start the day,
Well, that explains the squirrels in their backpack.
I think nuts and seeds are a pretty staple element of most wild sailors' diets because that's stuff you can get while you're on the ocean. Supplemented again with insects probably, right? A lot of bug life is the most rampant and prevalent thing on the Wildsea, and maybe that's a little weird for a moth person or an isopod boy, but I think probably not, right?
Not me.
I think culturally that's just in the same way that it's the ectus is out here eating plants. I think probably a lot of the bug folk of the Wildsea are still consuming other smaller, lesser insects.
That's the rule of the bug world.
New season, same bug diet that you've come to know and love from Risky Standard. Yeah.
Listen, it's the future, baby. Mm-hmm. But also the past.
We're being paid by the CIA to normalize eating bugs.
Yeah. And fungi too. I imagine there's a lot of mushrooms out there.
Who are our people here.
I was going to say, if you're a gal eating mushrooms, that feels really fucked up.
I'll just say I would not be comfortable eating mushroom in front of a gal person.
Yeah.
Uncouth.
Ardent are out here eating all kinds of mammals too. You know what I mean?
Good. Yeah. Okay.
All right. I imagine that the gal might not see that extreme difference between an ardent and some kind of other like mammal in the same way that like we don't see the extreme difference between a brainless fungi and the fungal form that creates a gal.
You heard it here first, folks. Cannibalism, good by risky standards.
Hey, listen, the book has more than one thing to say about cannibalism, so we'll see if we get there.
Once again, shout out to Felix for really covering every base.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's like probably like tea or coffee to drink in the morning. We've talked about this also, like fresh water, kind of a rarity on the Wildsea. You're capturing rain, you're capturing, like the water deposits that do form. Yeah, condensation. Like, there's not a lot of natural, like freshwater sources out here, unfortunately, especially ones that have not been tainted by Crezerin, which is another kind of big thing to have to worry about all the time when you're sourcing food out here on the Wildsea. This Crezerin, which promotes the rampant growth, is also, it's mutative. It's not a great thing to get little bits of all the time.
I think probably, as we're eating breakfast, Reese sort of goes over to like the, the water barrel and, unplugs the bunghole and sort of tilts it back and pours himself a glass of water and maybe like holds it up and it's like, sort of a pale yellow. It's probably has like absolutely. A bit of pollen in it, He said, Extelbor, I'm sorry. Is there perhaps some fresher water available?
Big vegetable grin and like a and then he takes it from you and holds it up. Still good. 4 shades more, then we get rid of it.
Yes, well, very, very good then. Sort of pinches his nose and like tilts it back.
But yeah, let's move it forward. The Ixtalbor starts to close up the galley, putting things away as the engine starts to cycle and rev up. The final checks are made. Yeah.
Before we head out, I don't think I asked this last time, but the when we descended and went to the like Tarnana farm, was that like a ruin of something a long time ago, or like the farm was disturbed like within the last decade, or like it's more recent?
I'd say probably the last decade. It seemed like, cool. Or two. I think probably unclear. It was not like the last few months. I think Reese unearthed a body down there, and I think the state of decay of that would have told you it had been
true.
At least more than a year, but probably closer to like several years since that farm had actually been operational and extant.
Right. Okay. Cool.
All that said, we can continue our journey. We will kind of continue the same rhythm that we talked about last time. There are stations, 2 of which must be manned during every journey, the helm and the watch. And our destination is still the same. We are still on the way to Caldermere. We're not picking up any extra cargo or crew at this moment. We're not in a port yet. So I think we can kind of move forward to what stations would people like to take for this journey. We could mix it up. We could keep it the same. I'm curious. I think it's probably good for the ship that not everyone does the same thing every time. So there's a utility and not, having one person who's the only person who can do this X, Y, or Z thing.
I think Calathiel's like not. I don't want to helm this time, especially because with all these rude quakes, I think Calathiel's a little responsible. Like we're flying the ship for the first time and sort of immediately got it stuck in a valley, and then we dropped anchor. So I think this time Cal's much more wistful on, rooks don't quake like that without a reason, right? So I think he's trying to figure out if there's something further out that he can spot. So maybe I'll take watch.
Sure. You know what? I think that due to his a bit of failure with the creation of this spore recognition system, Hex is like, do not clear the head. I steer the ship. Just keep it going straight right now. I got some thinking to do. Being behind the wheel, it will help me clear my mind, and we'll figure it out, and we'll get us to the next port and be able to figure it out by then, hopefully.
Do we want this guy driving?
Energy I love to get a driver.
It's good to
If my Uber driver
I've
talks to me like that,
done this before.
Like,
I know how to do it.
I'm
Taking
clear.
class. I have a license, and we are going to be safe to drive in 5, 4.
which is cool because this is the thing
Look.
I have been wanting.
Everyone loves taking a Sunday drive. We're just going to get out of the valley, and we'll be in Caldemere before we know it. I'm fine, and I'm not upset. So,
Okay.
You heard it here first, folks. He's fine, not upset.
And I think Claremont slaps Hexam on the back, right, and is like, excellent. I myself have been wanting a little bit more observation of someone behind the wheel. It'll be good to see firsthand an expert hand at the wheel. I'll join you in the pilot's
Great.
chamber. And perhaps you can explain to me, your choices as we're going along. It'll
see what I think I
we can
did
think
wrong
through it
with
together.
the spores was as he walks away and leads him up to the cabin, not talking about sailing.
And I think probably actually Claremont's interest. Like, Claremont is the other person here who's probably most equipped to offer an idea about like what could go. Cool. So that leaves young Reese. Reese, what are you doing?
I guess it leaves me to chart the course.
Cartographizing our bad boy?
That's like Dungeon World, isn't it? You're
Oh. Am I saying the wrong thing?
It's not a move in this, which is fun.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Did I really just revert back to Dungeon World? Wait,
I
what
believe
is it?
it was from Dungeon World.
I
There
believe
was
it was
like
from Dungeon World. Yeah.
You know what? We're gonna do that. Yes, we're gonna.
Yeah. So you're the three. Yeah.
you said
the
it
three,
declarative enough that there might
Yeah.
be a rule in the book now if we look.
I'm gonna chart the course.
Hey, I don't sound like that.
There are 3 optional stations. They are tending the engine, watching the weather, or cartographizing.
Yeah, cartographizing is what I meant.
Yeah, and cartographizing
And I
is
knew that from
keeping
the beginning.
a lookout for landmarks and distinctive places, using them to sketch out a new chart. And so, yeah, if you do this, we will have you make some progress on a new track, a pathfinding track, that will be filled every time a significant landmark is sighted. And when it's complete, you'll be rewarded with a chart that's relevant to the area you've traveled through, which will allow you to take a more measured and safer, shorter journey back through this area if you ever want to travel this part of the seas again. Or you also have a chart you could trade away for other resources or utilize in a few different ways. And so I'm going to make a 3-segment pathfinding. I'm going to call this Road to Caldemere for now. So the book says the cartographer should point out when they're noting a landmark down. So as we travel, I will kind of put some of these in your way and we can kind of collaborate here. But as the journey goes on, you're going to be filling out this chart. But first, we'll talk about the helm and the watch, right? And so, where's Reese at while he's cartographizing? What's like the station he's taking up for this? I'm just curious as we kind of get the images of everyone starting to get ready for the journey. Are you still in the Tusk?
Yeah, I could be there. I could also maybe be. Do we have like a Maybe there's like a room with a compass.
The library, the library probably.
Like I'm in the library. There's a compass and there's like a pipe that leads right up to the helm,
Oh, nice.
so I can speak directly to the and I can smoke weed out of it and I can get high.
Oh, wouldn't that be cool? There was an intership bong system.
Bong.
I think that should be
our engine's powered by bong rips.
Yeah.
Oh boy, 420 special, here we come.
So I'm calling out orders. It's like 3 ticks northwest, Mr.
Also, it
Hexam.
should be pointed. Cartographizing is not charting the course. It's making a map of what you're passing to be able to chart it.
Yeah, flip side.
It's more.
Well, I'm doing that.
Camera pans. There are 3 large ticks to the
I
northwest.
just really wanted
Crawling on a line.
yeah. So I meant 3 large ticks. I just also really want there to be a sort of intercom.
Yeah, what we call it? The echo box. There's a little tube system. You can call from
Yeah.
the engine room to the pilot's berth to the library.
Yeah.
We talked
to
about
the galley as well.
Galley, like the servant bell thing, like that little system. You can buzz a different room around the ship, which is funny because our ship's not big, but it's fancy.
It is, yeah.
Thanks to the Montclair family.
Which is no longer funding this journey. This is independent intellectual expedition.
Which has nothing to do with its merit either, which is earned.
Yes. Great. So yeah, we've got Claremont and Hexam up in the pilot's cabin. Where is Reese taking watch from? Like, what's your... Or not Reese. Sorry, where's Calathiel taking watch at?
This is kind of my first time on watch, so the idea I think is I'm on the lookout for danger here. I don't have a chart of the area, which would make things easier, but we've already had a little bit of discovery. So like I think maybe it's like there's not a lot of space on the ship, so I imagine he's still maybe even kind of holding this Tarnana thing just as we're moving through the Tarnana area. With the scythe here
it's
on the front
on the deck.
Yeah. And I think is sort of bushwhacking, right? As we through this area, as we pull out of the bramble here and move kind of back out into open waters, and is occasionally, I think hacking, vines or branches out of the way on the prow.
Great. Let's turn to the helm.
Yes, sir.
Hexam, you have direct control over the ship, and you can choose one of the following 3 options. You can cut a path, which means you'll travel at decent speed while keeping the ship and crew as safe as possible, and you'll give whoever's on watch a good chance of spotting oddities early. And this will mark a single box on the progress track of your journey. You can choose to forge ahead, where you will, kind of gun it. Your passage across the waves is rough but swift, and it is not stealthy. Watch is almost a formality. You'll have little chance of coming within visual range of anything without being spotted yourself. But it will mark 2 boxes on your progress track. Or lastly, you could drop anchor, but we just did that, so it'd be pretty crazy to get behind the wheel and then just keep the anchors dropped.
Okay, so I think with this, there's going to be a little bit of a narrative element to this, because I think that in Hex's mind, he is cutting a path, but with his headspace and that he is in, he is forging ahead. He's excited about the fact that, Claremont is listening to the spore thing. So it's like, right, and obviously, I think that if we can do that, clunk, like, kind of clicks it into, drops whatever that, I don't know what the term is, the hammer, or the switch, how on, like, those, like in the Titanic, they have that lever that, like...
Oh, what is that called? You were calling it out last time, Pete. The
Chadburn.
The Chadburn.
That's what that's called, yeah.
So
or
I think
telegraph.
he's doing this not in a way to think that he is just kind of forging ahead, but it's like, right, so you're interested. And obviously this is how this should do that. Chadburn goes forward, hand on the wheel looking, but like turning and talking to Claremont. Maybe at first he, does a little swipe to avoid a bigger branch that is coming in. It's fine. We're good.
Yep. And Claremont, I think kind of like trying to keep up the conversation, obviously we must consider general atmospheric conditions and what they were before and after the shutter jump, kind of staring nervously at the Chadburn.
He's not being derelict in his duties. So I think it maybe is out of this this valley through some of the last thickets of bramble here and gets out going fast. Hopefully we can get to Caldermere soon so that we can see what they have to offer, get some of these Tarnanas, and who knows, maybe we can use something we've traded. And I think I know what I would need. So if we can get there, we'll be one more step further down that path and setting us on our way, but with a certain amount of quickness to it.
All right. Yeah. So we are full speed ahead. So then we move to the watch. Calathiel, you are going to make a watch roll, and that will determine the broad nature of what your character spots during this watch. A roll of 6 means peace. A 5 or a 4 is order, an encounter with one of the various cultures living across the Wildsea. A 1, 2, and a 3 is an encounter with nature, an encounter with something born of the wild unknown or a feature of the sea. And while you're rolling that, I will also simultaneously be rolling a hidden d6, and this will be what tells me the kind of level of danger associated with whatever it is that you do encounter. So if you want to go ahead and roll your d6, I'll roll mine at the same time, but mine will be hidden.
Am I rolling multiples based on edges and skills, or just 1d6?
You're just rolling 1d6 for watch. There's no no adds here. Yeah, the helm doesn't have to roll anything. You're just choosing the speed that we move at. It's the watch that'll decide what kind of fun we encounter on the Wildsea.
That's a 4.
That is a 4. All right, and I will go ahead and roll my hidden 1d6. Did you guys see that?
Mm-mm.
All right, cool. Just making sure. And once again, I'd like to shout out really quick the Wildsea digital character sheet that we're using. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. It is produced, I think, by just a couple of people, but it is like a super functional, like really bespoke, beautiful digital character sheet that I think makes doing all of this super easy. It's maybe the best digital character sheet I've ever used, like for a specific game. And it includes the ability to roll dice inside the character sheet, and for me as the GM to keep them hidden, and vice versa. I didn't even see, Pete, you posted a really great little sardine stove image in here as well. It's got all of the rules built in. It's really fantastic for what we're doing here. So Pete, you rolled a 4, which means that the encounter here is going to be of order, an encounter with one of the various cultures living across the Wildsea. Hex, I think you start bringing us out of this valley, and it is, again, time's a little variable here, right? I don't want every journey to mean like this is one day on the sea, but I think maybe today it is, right? Hex is in this irritated state,
Creative state,
and
brainstorming state.
Creative state, yeah. You're in kind of a flow state right now. No, but you're what is it? You're forging ahead, and also Claremont is there, and I don't think Claremont helps you get out of the mood that you're in. You know what I mean? Like I think, there's like maybe it's like a mixture of asking questions about your process in terms of building the prediction device. Kind of like a. Oh, well, why didn't you use, this kind of, an extendable arm to capture the spores instead of leaning out over? It seems like an easy...
The extendable arm that we have. Wonderful. I will use that next time.
But I think it's also then, like, interrupting you to kind of ask questions about what you're doing, right? There's a lot of, like, okay, so how do you prefer to hold... some of it's like, how do you like to hold the wheel? What's the best way to maintain control? And there's also just, like, is it supposed to be set at that? Do you like to vary it during the drive? I don't think you get a quiet moment. These moments where you maybe could have cooled off a little more. Claremont's kind of childishly inquisitive about what's going on, and a little oblivious to the fact that I think he's maybe working you up. And so, I think you can feel it on the deck, Calithiel. You're cooking, right? Hex is driving the ship with a purpose across the treetop waves.
Yeah, I think even sort of like probably having to hold on to the... like the railing, right? It was where really like it's like when you're on a speedboat, it's really bouncing off of the waves. It's like, wow, he's really taking to it.
Yeah, there's some chop for sure. And I think we get it's hours on the sea, right? I think probably Ixtabor coming out at from the galley at some point with like light refreshments, checking on things. You're driving for a while. And I think we're also starting to see there is a bit of a shift in the actual makeup of the sea itself that we are on. We are getting a shift away from, I think, we were previously in Solemn Tide, which is the reach or an area of the Wildsea. It's characterized by like oaks interspersed with like, I think... these big willows, kind of, these tall shank willows, these trees that jut up above the rest of the canopy, kind of dotting the horizon every so often with their, like, long hanging branches. And as we're traveling towards Caldermere, we're starting to move into a different biome and a different region of the Wildsea. It is spring, so the leaves are still fresh and green. They have a duller cast as we kind of make this transition. And we are mostly sailing on aspen now, undergirded by the stretch of, the profusion of vines and fungi, floral bursts. Right, like I said, the Wildsea is not just branches and leaves. It is like a kind of symbiotic network of vegetation. But the substrate, the bulk of it, the iron roots here are quaking aspens. a slightly different kind of tree. One that we know in our own world are like deeply interconnected organisms at their roots.
This is Pendo. Isn't Pendo? Is that what it's called? The
Pando, I think.
Pando, the world's
Pando
largest
is
superorganism.
Pando is for our listeners who have not talked about Pando amongst each other many times.
If your circle is not discussing the world's largest organisms, deciduous forests, and connected communities, then you need to find a new circle.
But Pando is a aspen tree colony in Utah and is the world's largest multi-stem tree. And so that is what this, these are quaking aspens, is what we would recognize them in. They have a kind of a pale bark. The bark is getting paler. The leaves are green but dull, but in the fall they will turn a beautiful gold. And this is like a site, I think, right, Claremont says something to you about this hex, right? It's like, my brother Sinclair has told me that the trees of the shaking boughs are beautiful in the fall. I don't know if our journey will still see us here at that time, but it would be a sight I would much love to behold.
Could be back here this time next year, this fall. Great, but again, I
posted at 100 miles an hour.
Right now, we are gonna try to get through them. So I'm gonna just keep my eyes,
Was that a branch over there? What is might want to adjust course.
These trees all have branches, so
It's very funny to just think it's loud. There's like wood chips like flying.
Oh, there's a giant chainsaw roaring at the front of your ship. It's not quiet because it's also.
And Claremont's like, it's peaceful here in the fall. I can imagine how lovely.
But the chainsaw's roaring, because we are going at full speed, and there is kind of like I imagine kind of like a whine that comes from the engine, right? As this like electric engine kind of reaches like a maximum output or something closer to maximum output. The path behind us, you can still see dotting occasionally the landscape these willows, these tall shank willows that jut up above the rest of the Wildsea back there. And I think this is probably one of these tall shanks that we can't see but far away, I imagine, is High Sonder, is where this journey last started. And otherwise ahead of you, it is the roiling expanse of green. I've been thinking a lot about like being at sea and this idea, especially in like the pre-radio era of just like it's the same thing around you for as far as you can see for a really long time. There's no sense of an end to it, you know what I mean? And like, so where you are at, I think you are in this moment of like, it's the Wildsea, the expanse of green going forever. There are a few real big landmarks, and the topography rises and falls, but you're in a relatively flat section of it. There is, to the far north, this is something you would all be very familiar, a thing you've seen often in your life, and a thing that probably most navigators use as like a guiding beacon. It is the conflagration. It is a fire from centuries ago that has burned on the Wildsea endlessly ever since. The mark of one of the earliest ill thought out wars on the Wildsea, before the early survivors understood the true destructive force of fire. And it is, just this pillar of smoke and ash, impossibly far to the north, but always visible. And a kind of constant reminder to the people of the Wildsea, the dangers of fire, what we talked about before.
So we'd be doing war, but we can't.
Yeah. We can still do war, but we have to be clever about it. No fire. And I think probably, that's an easy one to mark.
They do rap battles. That's how they solve conflict in the Wildsea.
History, actually.
Yeah.
Malcolm, I think you probably hear, if any of these jump out to you as a landmark that you want to mark for your pathfinding track, feel free to call it out. What we see as we are kind of moving here. That is how you will advance your cartographizing. But it's loud, right? It is loud, and that is probably why you don't hear it.
Great. Here it comes.
Oh, I know what that means. I know when Mitch makes noises like that with his mouth.
Calithiel.
Yeah?
You're on the deck. And you don't know when you first started to hear it. There's a music that you realize you're listening to. And it's It's in a minor key, and it's also slightly out of tune. I don't know if it's an instrument you've heard before ever, but it is music recognizably. It is a melody that you realize you're hearing over the roar of the saw faintly.
Maybe it starts as like those. You ever have that, like when you hear like an auditory hallucination? I hear it sometimes in like white noise. Like sometimes you start thinking like there's something coming out of it. So does it sound like it's coming from that? Like is that it's coming from the din of the bite, or is this like emanating across the treetops?
It's emanating across the treetops, and it's getting louder, moment by moment. I'm gonna introduce a mechanic here that we haven't used yet. I think it's a good time. It's sad. It is like a kind of a haunting melody. This kind of in this minor key. Like at first you're straining to hear it over the. Is it the engine? Is it the saw? And then it's a moment of like, no, it's not. I'm hearing music, and I don't know if you've ever just had a moment where you listen to a song and it's just like maybe you're already kind of emotionally ready for this, but a song just kind of hits you. And I think maybe it's the root quakes, right? It's got you thinking about home, about what you've lost. But I think there's a kind of a sorrow that creeps in here as you hear this like kind of, this haunting, this sad melody played out on... I think we would recognize it as keys of some kind. Maybe not Califield, but we would. We would hear the sound and know that it's like a key instrument. I want you to mark a mire.
Okay.
Mires are a way that we track the emotional and mental difficulties of being a wild sailor. It's lonely on the sea. You see terrible things, and you see scary things, and you also see sad things, right? And at times, you also see boring things. You spend days, if not weeks, on not an empty, but the same landscape, just moving across, and it can affect us all in different ways. But mire is a way that we track that, and each character has, to start with, 3 different mires that they have, which are just short, descriptive phrase about a kind of fear or an anxiety or like a dark emotion or a kind of idea that can overtake this character. And when we encounter difficult things, when we encounter sad things or horrifying things or things we can't understand, we will take mires. And so, Pete, do you want to read us what your 3 mires are and then tell us which one you want to mark?
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I'll start. I have 3. My first one is a keen fear of shakes and quakes, referring to root quakes there, that coming from Califield's background and being sort of isolated from the shambling city he once called home. Second one is your movements cause wrecks to shift and creak like an ill-placed footstep or something like that on a ruin. And my third is that the waves seem callous and unpredictable. And can I ask a question here as I'm taking a mire? This is from the music, right? Like
yes, it's from the music, but yeah, like I said, it's also I think from a music catching you in a surprisingly emotional way that you weren't ready for.
Okay. In that case, I think I'm gonna mark it on one mire under the waves seem callous and unpredictable.
And maybe this is also like the music recalls to you what you saw, the day before, right? This like destruction of this like vibrant farm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like also just you can prepare for a lot of danger in a place like the Wildsea and prepare yourself as a wild sailor as best you can. But like this would not be in the textbook preparedness, list of like right like a So yeah, I think marking this mire as we're really moving at a chop here. Once I'm able to really make out that this is indeed some sort of strange, haunting melody. I think Cal from his spot up on the prow would like turn and try and signal, to Montclair and Hex. It's like we should slow down. This is something strange is happening.
Good. So the way that Mire's going to work, just we know as we go forward before we talk about what happens next. If one box of Mire is marked, narratively speaking, the game asks you, Pete, to let hints of the condition bleed through into your roleplay. Perhaps you shy away from choices that would usually be easy, or bring the effects of Mire into a description of a related action. And mechanically what this means is Whenever you try to act in a way that contradicts a mire, you will automatically cut a number of dice equal to the amount of marks on that track. And a cut here means that we will remove the highest result from your roll for every cut that you have.
Okay.
So if you do something that acts in opposition of the idea that the waves seem callous and unpredictable, you will get a cut. And so that's a kind of a, we'll talk through when that seems appropriate.
And we resolve mires as well? Like, you can clear a mire by
So you can
addressing it head on?
Yes, there's a couple different ways. One is by playing to your drives. Whenever you achieve something that advances or satisfies one of your drives, one of the things that you can do is choose to clear a mire. You could also set some time aside at port for rest or relaxation. That's a thing you could do during a montage, is try and recover your mire. If a ship has a surgeon, they may also be able to help in more extreme cases through the application of soporific drugs or amateur psychotherapy. So if you want to let Hex kind of mess around in your head a little bit, try and talk you through this one.
He seems stable, right?
But let's cut back in. You raise the hand to start to warn them. Right, something's going on.
Yeah, I'm I think trying to shout through the noise, right?
Yeah.
Because I imagine they can't quite hear it in the pilot's berth.
And the music, it gets loud suddenly. It's louder. It's loud. The loudest it's been. I think even you can hear it, Reese, even inside the ship. And I think even in the pilot's cabin,
right,
faintly, you and Montclair both kind of start to hear the jingle of it. And I think you're kind of the waves are, like I said, they're not flat, right? Just like the ocean, there's constantly rise and fall, and even more so with the treescape. And so I think you're kind of coming up a little bit over the crest of a wave, as it were. And right as you're starting to crest it and come down, you can see that right in front of the path of the ship, partially kind of erupting through the branches, is a wooden structure straight ahead of you. I don't even think there's enough time to study it. You know what I mean? There's not time to see ask what is this, but you are on a collision course. You're gonna hit it unless you can avoid it.
Am I in immediate danger?
It depends on how good Hex is at piloting the ship.
Yeah, maybe this is as we're cresting this wave, depending on Hex's outcome here, this is you can feel it start to crest the wave and come down the other side, and then, trying to sprint back up the ship, which I imagine is running uphill.
Yeah. As you come over the crave, as you see the thing though, I think you can define source it directly. The music is coming from inside that structure. So Hex, you're aimed to blast right through this bad boy.
Okay. I think that as it comes into vision, with a bit of a science background, there are some physics elements that he does know and has picked up that that traveling at this speed, hopefully, a good, just quick minor whip of the wheel. Well, actually, a quick whip of the wheel might send them into a different kind of weird tailspin out of it, so that he knows that at the speed he's got to do a big wider turn, that it's gonna have to actively go around. It's not a heading towards it and then dodge and go straight back on course. That it's gonna be looks like we have to do a wide spin or a big cut around. So it might send them kind of off in a diagonal away from it. But a bigger direction change is the only thing that is going to save that, if that makes sense. You can't, it's not a swerve to avoid. Yeah. It is we're going off to the side to...
So whenever the ship is in danger or trying to overcome an obstacle, instead of asking you to roll your own character's skills, edges, and other advantages, instead we rely on the ship's own ratings. And the ship has 6 ratings that define its capabilities. They are armor, seals, speed, saws, stealth, and tilt. And each of these has a rating that is determined by the different choices that you all made when you were building this ship. And you will roll the rating that is appropriate for the action you are trying to take with the ship to determine whether or not you succeed in your action that you're trying to take. And so just so we can kind of talk about, the Verdigale is a beautiful research vessel. It has great armor. The Leviathan hull and your diligent engineering, your deckhanding, mean that you have an armor rating of 4. And armor is great for busting through things, for resisting damage. The ship has a seals of 3. Seals are used to keep the Wildsea out. It's a measure of defense against spore storms, insect swarms, and other potentially invasive presences. The ship is not fast.
Could benefit
it has a
us
speed
in this?
of 1.
Because we can't go... It could maybe benefit us in this because it doesn't go super fast.
So if you use speed, you're still rolling 1 dice.
I'm weighing out the how to spin some of these different elements, but
so your saws are 3. They're pretty good. How good your ship is cutting through the denser parts of the sea. However, you took damage to your saws, which means you'd only roll 2 right now. They were damaged by the Tarnana kind of goop that got stuck in there, despite the kind of cursory cleaning given to them by Calathiel. Then your stealth, which is pretty self-explanatory, is a 1. It's not a quiet ship, even at the best of times. And finally, you have a tilt. Tilt is a measure of maneuverability and how well your ship can tackle the sharper dips and rises of the waves.
Yeah.
You do have a tilt of 1. The Verdigale is not an especially maneuverable ship. So I think the course of action that you just described sounds to me a lot like tilt. It's maneuverability.
With that, and since that is how I defined what I was going to do to avoid it, I am fine with rolling tilt. Is there a way to, again, spin it so that we can roll armor and still try to take the dice from that, but, balance the tilt and armor, like, even if we don't avoid it, like, our ship doesn't take damage, or I just have to roll armor for that and hope that the roll and then how we define it during play would be benefit.
So the way the rules are worded, if you fail a ratings roll, you take damage to the rating. So I think if you wanted to try and roll armor here, you would have to explain to me in the fiction how the ship's armor is the thing. I think you could roll armor if you were just going to barrel through this and try and have everyone come through unharmed. Like, armor's a great thing to roll there. If you're just like, the ship can take it, then I would say roll armor. But if you're trying to avoid hitting this wooden structure that's coming up out of there...
Right.
It's hard for me to see how armor is the thing that stops that from happening. Although, if you haven't...
Sure. No.
I'm open. I'm
well,
an
first
eager
question,
listener.
Do we have any...
I'm twisting my mustache deviously.
Now that we see it as we come over this wave, as people who have, spent their life on the Wildsea in various differing amounts and in different capacities, do we recognize what this wooden structure is by the very nature of its construction or anything? Like,
I think because you forged ahead, you don't have time. That's the opportunity cost here. Is if you'd been cutting a path, if you'd been going more slowly, you would have had more time to see it and study it before you were right on top of it. But instead, it's like you're coming up over the wave, fucking ripping, dude, and you're about to slam right into it.
I guess sadly, I think in this, even if he is trying to maneuver, I think rolling armor just to make sure that we don't absolutely fucking destroy our ship before we even get to port 1, and we are going to try to maneuver, but rely on the armor to keep the ship sailing forward. And, as the sad music comes through, there is heartbreak that comes with knowing that that is the choice that has to be made, I think, for Hex.
Slamming this thing into it?
Trying...
Yeah.
Boy, my heart is heavy with having to wreck the ship, Captain.
What? Should we try to avoid it, or should we try to use all of the armor?
No, I don't know. I mean, like, I'm on the deck, so I'm like, Captain? And Hex is like, boy, I feel so sad to say this, but we're going to have to hit that building.
Can we at least tell how big it is? 'Cause maybe then that would change.
It's not huge, but it is like, it's partially concealed. It's like a piece of structure kind of coming up through the top of the waves, but the bulk of it is underneath the thrash, or like hidden by the thrash.
Is there a moment here for me to use the...
Well, in we go.
That's that. Got it. In a split moment here, to shout through the echo box, to try to get. I guess I'm at the wheel. I have to make that choice, huh? There's not like any. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like marking it down on the map. I'm like, sad old building. Got it. Well, we'll be sure to come back here as soon as we can.
Comma. Yeah. Parentheses. Haunted. Clearly. Yeah. I mean, hey, like these kind of moments, what you're experiencing is the duty of command. So time's ticking. We got to make a choice here. So I think like
with our armors is our best bet to try to just. Hopefully it doesn't wreck us, but we will do better with that than me trying to just avoid it, and know that if we're going to get damaged by not avoiding it, we might as well, take the best course of action to use the weight and the speed of the ship to travel through. That's
yeah. Go ahead and roll 4 dice.
1, 1, 3, 6.
Okay, so a 6 is a triumph.
Oh, I destroyed it. It's destroyed. It can't stop us.
So there's a twist here.
Doubles.
Because you got you got 2 1s as well.
Devious. Mustache troll.
And so a twist is an unexpected event in addition to the usual result. And so we've seen this before, and we're going to keep seeing this a lot. This is like a kind of a key part of the mechanic. Is like the twists can happen whenever there are 2 of the same number are rolled, even if they're not like the highest number. And so because you got 2 1s, a 3, and a 6, this is a triumph. It's a complete success. You bypass the obstacle, without harm. But there's also a twist here. And the twist is open for anyone to suggest. It's not just like a GM imposed.
Okay.
This is what a twist is. I'm not opposed to the idea that you managed to avoid destroying the structure below you as a twist, right? As a little extra added benefit, like
missing it is great. Not hitting it and damaging the ship is a really good one.
Not hitting it. I really would love to. If we can't explore it right now, I would like to explore it at a later time, because it is very cool to me.
Are we crashing into it? Sort of like
stuck? So I think on the success, you know what I mean? I think maybe the twist is, yes, you miss it because you are. Hex was so fucking, full
so fast
that you do kind of come up off the crest and you skim over it. And I think like the bottom of the hole scrapes over like the kind of like structure that's peeking out before you. You can hear the ripping up of planks, but it's like pretty minor as you then crash into the greenery ahead of it. And the music swells as like some of the roof of the structure is ripped away by the force of the bottom of the hole catching, right? And so I think you do come crashing into the waves in front, like at speed, but probably I imagine like slowing down pretty quickly. But if you want to stop here and investigate what's making these sad sounds, that's you can, you know what I mean? Or we can keep journeying, and we will continue to roll dice to journey on. But I think on a triumph, you bypass that obstacle, you clear the structure, you land on the other side, you've ripped up some of the roofing of it, but you haven't crashed into it, and like you have not shaken it loose from the branches, which is the other big danger there.
As being at the helm, is that my call to say whether we would stop, or is that a team decision?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, nobody else is driving the ship.
I think after hearing the ripping up of this wood, like planks, even with the roll telling us that we bypass it, I think that it would be irresponsible, even breaking out of his being annoyed at Claremont. Like, we got to make sure that things are fine. There was ripping of planks and wood. What do you guys think?
Oh, I think Claremont's also like, what do you think that is? What is that?
Right.
He's like turning around, kind of like peering to the rear port of the pilot's cabin, like. Right. Naturally curious. And as I think, as you kind of start to slow down, you reduce the throttle. Everyone can hear the music clearly now. Everyone hears it as the ship starts to slow, and then the music stops. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the song starts up again.
It's on a loop.
And we can play this out as a scene from here. You know what I mean? We're in it now. The ship has kind of like, I imagine you're starting to like slow down, maybe steer to bring it back closer to the structure. Calathiel, you're on the deck. Reese, you were in the library. Are you coming up now? Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm coming up. I think I'm I guess there's no way I could have been watching from down there, but I think I come up and I'm getting filled in, and I think kind of nodding. It's like I'll prepare the outrider.
Yeah, I think like I'm at this point probably making my way back to the cabin, and I'm probably flecked with detritus, like sticks and leaves and bramble and stuff. I'm like shaking out of my cloak, trying to come back up to be like, what the hell just happened? What is this? Is that on any of your charts there, Reese?
Can't say it is. I don't believe so. I haven't seen any chart with this on it.
And so now that you guys have like slowed and are like kind of coming nearer to the structure, right? I think a couple things stand out, right? It is a wooden structure. It is like, I think, a wooden roof with timbers and shingling, partially pushing up at kind of a weirdly like a canted angle in the waves. It is not something built in. You know what I mean? Like, it was not built around a tree. I think, you can all kind of see pretty quickly, this looks like a pre-verdant structure of some kind. It doesn't bear the mark of the kind of like ramshackle assembly that defines most like, modern architecture. I think there's probably, especially you, Calathiel, who is the dredger, who is the expert at these kinds of things. I think your eyes can immediately spot the difference between, like ironwood, like iron root wood, and then like classical, like a classical wooden structure.
So it is wooden structure. Okay.
Yeah.
I think coming up onto probably back to the like sort of pilot's berth on the deck. Could we bring the boat upside? Like bring it up?
Yeah, I think
to dock
on a Triumph. I think you guys can get pretty close to it with the boat without having to like roll or get too like fancy here.
I think that's sort of the direction, right? And I'm like, Captain, what if we permission to wave walk on this structure?
Permission granted, obviously. Let's take a look at it. This is, and I think, he starts to bring the snapograph to swing around to get like a photo of the structure itself kind of poking up out of the waves, right? The initial finding.
And you should come. You should be here for this kind of historic moment.
Is everybody going to get out of the boat? What's the plan here?
I think that after his near miss, Hex is, glad we got here at speed, Captain. I'm gonna take a moment. Ix, as he goes and like gets a tea to, steady his shaking hand after he just nearly drove us directly into this rooftop. But he might join in a second. But I think for a moment he might just watch from the deck. And all right, I'm gonna head down to make sure that everything's working all right. However, moths sweat, like just the fluffy moth, hair around him is a little
dewy,
matted down right now as he
perspired. I think as we leave the room, Calathiel sort of like under his breath to Ixtalbor is like, don't let him touch the wheel.
And again, Ixtalbor is like that big, toothy vegetable tooth smile, like nodding, a calming drink for your nerves, young Hexam. Come.
Would Ixtalbor go near this thing? This feels like something an old salt would be very superstitious to.
Oh, not
be near.
Yeah, I think Ixtalbor, is not here to give advice. And not in a way that like I'm saying that as a GM, but as Ixtalbor's, he's not here to be like the old crewman. He's here to have an easy time being a cook and letting his employer, Claremont Montclair, investigate whatever he thinks is really interesting about the Wildsea. And so I think Ixtalbor, as he's preparing the tea, and he's, there's a moment of like, maybe it is like a moment of like, you're going to check out the sad music outside in the old.
Yes, that's the plan.
The old rune.
Yes. Pretty exciting.
And heating up the thing. And I think it's just like, camera catches him, all but rolling his eyes as everyone else kind of prepares to go investigate the weird music playing from this old structure. I think that our quartermaster has lived a previous life that had a lot of adventure and excitement in it. And you can always ask him about it, but I think his present day precludes the seeking of that. And so I think, Claremont meets you two, Reese and Calathiel, out on the deck. And I think Claremont is rocking he's not in the cream-colored suit anymore. That was obviously deeply impractical yesterday, and it got nearly ruined by the Tarnana mess. And so I think today he's got a little bit of a Brendan Fraser in The Mummy kind of fit.
Fifth helmet.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't have the helmet on, but he's got
breeches and like a ruffled shirt.
Yeah, ruffled shirt. He's got like a kind of he's still got the monogrammed like neckerchief. And then I think he's got kind of like two big leather suspenders that are like strapped with like
colognes and different smelling potions.
No, he's a scientist, right? He's got like a notebook and like sketching materials, and he's got like little like sample vials and stuff. He's got stuff to do work, but he's got like maybe a little too much, right? He's kind of like jingle jangling as he kind of steps out onto the deck with you guys. And as the three of you prepare to approach the structure in the waves, I am going to make a 3-segment track here. This one doesn't have a name. You can figure out what it is as it happens. But I am going to mark the first segment in it. And when 3 segments get marked, the track will be complete and something will happen.
I knew it.
But with all of that preamble, what are you guys going to do? Who's going to lead the way?
Montclair, of course.
Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm. But I think as we kind of pull the Verdigale up to this edge, I don't know can you describe the building a little bit? Like, what are we seeing from the outside?
So from the outside, again, the waves have taken up most of.
So we kind of need to like hack our way in. That's what you're sort of saying. We can get close, but it's overgrown.
It's like in the branches. So I think from where you're at, you can kind of see. Like I said, there is kind of a simple shingled roof. I think it's probably a 2-story structure, kind of from what you can kind of peer through the branches. There are glass like windows on the upper story of the structure that you can kind of see from where you are at, but it is all, I think, also canted. And I think the front of the building is kind of facing away from where it's easiest to dock the ship. You're gonna have to come from the back. And some of these like shingles and like wooden planks of the roof have been ripped away by your encounter with it. But it is this kind of 2-story wooden structure, stained and aged timbers that is, like I said, canted at an angle. It has clearly been pushed up, likely by a rootquake over time. And it is clear this haunting melody is coming from inside there now. I think you're hearing it, and you also hear a creak of timber as this thing shifts ever so slightly. It is not necessarily going to be here forever.
Damn, that's 2 Myers in 1. The waves are unpredictable, and my movements cause wrecks to shift and creak. Fuck me, right? But I think that as we approach, I think Calathiel is a little cautious here, even though the allure of a pre-verdant ruin like this is too strong to ignore. But, turning to the captain and Reese and say, eyes up here. Something's not right about this place. Something's unusual. Let's stay together. Captain, you lead on, and I think he's got his big sickle here too, the coated sickle anyway. As I sort of begin, maybe there's like a big hunk of this that if we're coming up on this overgrown, sort of, I'm imagining like the 2nd story about here. Maybe that's like almost like pulling back some of this like thick vine and overgrowth, like a curtain, to get to one of these glass panes.
Okay, yeah. I think you're able to do that. Yeah, I'm not going to make you roll here yet. I think you use the scythe to pull some of the vegetation away from like one of these panes, and I think you can kind of like step down off of the ship. Maybe, it's like rope and plank to get down safely onto the waves and then to like on the structure. And I think you 3 are able to safely get onto the structure, right? And I think Claremont is on first, and there is like a and then Calathiel, you
Somebody
come
farted?
after. No, it's the creak of wood, right? This thing starts to creak more, and as Reese, as you make your descent, there is like a shudder, as like the thing kind of shakes slightly, and you hear branches shifting, and then it settles, and I think the three of you are able to approach this window. It is, broken, but there are still like pieces of it still in there, right? It's partially shattered, smeared with age, and it's dim inside, but you can peer into the structure. And the music's much louder here. You can hear that it's coming from inside. And you can't see what's making the music, but you can see that the windows for this floor, at least from like where you're at, there is like a balcony in front of you. The kind of interior of this place is open a little. There's kind of a balcony, which is like what's right there. And then below that, there is like the kind of main bulk of whatever this place was.
And the music
feels like a ballroom, maybe.
It's a little smaller than that, right? I would say it's not that massive, right? Structurally wise, it's like the size of a house, a small house.
It's a house, right? Okay.
It's not. I wouldn't know if is it a house. It has the size of a house.
Wow. It's got a roof.
Walls from this angle, you can also see. Oh, you hear? I think amidst the music now, this close, like as you kind of like peer in through the window, and you're all having to kind of like lean in. You're kind of at an angle here. You can see the main source of light besides these windows is the front entrance, which is like facing away from the direction that you approached. There's a doorway down there on that second floor, and light is flooding in, kind of filtered through the leaves through that doorway because the door is not. The door does not completely cover the entranceway. There are two swinging doors that like don't fully cover the entranceway. We would recognize these as like saloon-style doors, and so they are kind of swinging and swaying with the motion of the branches. And so there's accompanying the music, there's this like intermittent creak of these saloon doors swinging back and forth. And whatever's playing the music is on that first floor. It's under you, and I think there's a jumble of like furniture and broken wood down there. But I think the other thing you can see appearing in, the structure is not whole. On the other side that's underneath, there are big sections of wall and flooring that have been broken away in its journeys up through the waves. So it's kind of like
sort of like cracked open.
Yeah, or like a big chunk of it is missing. It's almost as if you had plowed into it from underneath earlier. Someone did what you were about to do to it, maybe, or the natural shifting of time and its motion through the waves has like broken part of this building apart.
Maybe I think as we take our first steps into here, we hear the creak of the floorboards. Probably each one of us, the weight shifts a little bit, and it's immediately clear we're sort of on a precarious balancing point, right? Is it like when you say it's canted, it's like the whole place shifts? Or is it like the boards creak? Okay, so it's like immediately like, okay, nobody move, right?
Yeah.
Like so we're kind of just trying to hold still here and figure out what's going on. I have an aspect I think might come in handy here. I'm curious if I might be able to use.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
I, as a isopod guy, a little bug guy, have an ability to detect specific vibrations and hone in on a vibration so that I can learn its location and where it's likely to be. Am I able to like sense the source of this music from here?
Are you marking that aspect?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think you can tell there is something that is not built into the structure that is making this music. So there's like a device or something inside there, or a person, maybe someone's in there playing a tune, but it's not a person. You don't get the vibe because you're sensing like the minute vibrations, right?
Yeah.
You get the sense that there's a big device or machine or something that is making this music that is on the first floor of this structure under you, and also kind of below you can't see it right now because it's like kind of under the underhang of the balcony from where you're at, but it is against the far wall that is kind of like canted towards the forest floor. If what's below gives, whatever's making this music, which is heavy, it's a big thing. You can feel through the vibrations that the thing that's making the music is big, and big enough that you heard it from a distance away.
Well, I guess it's kind of also my question. Does that mean that this is like acoustic? It's like something actually being played, or is it like a recording?
There's a complex
interesting
series of vibrations happening to make this music. You're hearing like the movement of machinery. Or you're not hearing, but you're feeling the movement of machinery and shifting, right? There's like constant minute shifting and movement that is happening all through this thing to produce the sounds that are coming out. And so by marking that, that's not a roll that you have to make. You know that is down there. It's under the balcony, kind of just out of sight of where you're at right now, but it is against the wall that is canted towards the forest floor. So the weight of this thing is also kind of angled in a way that could bring the structure down if deployed improperly.
Okay, so we're basically staying in place because it's has a counterweight, right? Like a grandfather clock, maybe is what's happening here.
Or it's just that like the way the building is, it's like currently held by the ranches. They have got it in place, but like loosely. And this thing is, the weight of it is probably what is going to bring this whole structure crashing down eventually.
I see. So I think, yeah, maybe Cal's sort of taking a step towards the banister and trying to explain this. Like, we have to be really careful here because one false step could send this thing plunging into the tangle.
So if somebody wants to help the party get down there, that's going to have to be a roll. And I'm not going to make every person roll individually to get down there per se, but I think like if someone wanted to like lead the way to get down there, but also the more people that are down there, absolutely the more dangerous the whole thing becomes.
I will be going down there. Like delving is my game, so I would be remiss not to try. I'm happy to try and lead and go first in case something falls away. Reese?
Yeah, right behind you.
I think Montclair is like looking nervous, feels the creak beneath his feet, and then is like, this is what I left my home for. To see the wonders and relics of the Wildsea.
The Wildsea.
Let's do this. He wipes the sweat off his brow. Pretty warm today.
He's like, it's like inner monologue is like, it's like, now then, Montclair, these lads look up to you. It's your duty to show a brave face.
Let these lanterns know what the spirit of discovery is.
I think at this point, Hex has walked up back to the deck and is like, well, if I can be of any more help today, here for the assist.
But he's walking
into
the building?
No, I'm saying he's
on
on the deck.
We're like, no!
He's on the deck
That's
shouting down, like joking that if you need any more help, I've already gotten us into this.
So yeah, what's the plan here? What are you guys gonna try and do?
I'm just gonna go in.
Well, how are we gonna get down there? Like, I don't see any stairs, right?
There are stairs inside.
There are? Okay.
There are. I think like one of them's probably like half rotted away, and the other like staircase is there. But I think the staircase closer to you is rotted away. The one that's on the far side of the building, on the canted down angle, that one exists. Yeah, there's probably some missing steps, but it is still there. Imagine, it was like two staircases that rose to the balcony that kind of oversees the whole first floor on either side.
Well, then I guess maybe we like Scooby-Doo walk our way into the spooky basement of the house, or the first floor.
So who wants to lead the party going down there? We don't have group roles like we had in Beam Saber, so I think whoever is kind of leading the group will make the role here.
I'll lead, unless you have any objections, Cal.
No, I'll be here to back you up.
All right. Very well. How many dice am I rolling?
You tell me. Let's talk through it. What are you doing?
Yes.
How are you going in there? We start with your edge first.
We'll start with the edge of grace.
Yes, an edge of elegance, precision, and agility. That makes sense to me. And then we talk about what skills do you have to put into play here.
Well, I suppose delve would be. Yeah, actually, maybe Cal, you should lead this.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Nothing
I was
in
like,
delve.
Narratively, very interesting. Like,
yeah, I like the idea.
I'm being a little overzealous. I'm trying to show off, but
yeah. I hope that in fiction we get that moment of Reese going to the window first, thinking about how he could do this.
Yeah. But,
yeah,
perhaps Calathea, but I'll let you have this one this time.
It would be my honor.
Good. Show a young calf how it's done. That's I hate that.
It is funny to imagine like Reese taking the first step on the rotted out staircase and being like, hearing the whole building lurch. Yeah. It's like, nah, actually, why don't you go first?
Montclair, best perhaps that I take up the rear. Keep an eye for anything that might also be attracted to this music.
Good idea. Thank you, Captain. Good idea. You hold all the accessories. And I'll go ahead and start here. I'll show you guys how I normally do this. You just try to watch close, okay? First thing I'm going to do, I'll take tides, and I have 2 in delve. So that would give me 3 total.
Is there anything that could give you an advantage here? whether that's a piece of equipment, an aspect, or a crew member helping you out.
Well, are these vibrations? I mean, I've already marked one pip in the aspect track.
Yeah, I would give you a dice for that advantage.
Okay, because I think like that's the other part here is like as you're talking about all these creaking and groaning, I'm also imagining this as like in the like Daredevil vision. It's like only sounds, right? So maybe like Cal is also sensing a little further on like where these creaks are emanating from.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like fun to think about the idea that Cal has like a completely different sensory apparatus than everyone else does. You know what I mean?
As probably Hex as well in a very different way.
And also Ixtalbor. Like all of you are experiencing the world in different ways, which is cool.
Me and my boys, we get together, we experience the world in very different but unique ways.
And you can get a sampler of that every other week here on Risky Standard.
Do I need a cut coming away from this? Because I do have a mire that I think is sort of in play here.
The waves seem callous and unpredictable, and you are leading people into a creaking, shaking, potentially ruinous structure. I think I'm going to give you a cut of 1 for this.
Okay, so that's taking 1 away, right?
Yeah, so it's taking away whatever the highest dice result is. It's going to cut that.
Okay, so then I have 1, 2, 3, 4.
And so you can actually apply the cut on the digital character sheet when you roll. You can.
So the highest of that was a 3, and the rest are 2s.
So that's a triple twist.
Let me show you guys how I normally do this. What you're gonna want to look out for is like.
And you just fall down and hit every single step on the way down. Yeah.
Okay, so 3 2s on a roll is not a success, which the game calls a triumph. It's not a conflict, which is a mixed success. It is a disaster. A failure that also introduces a narrative complication or drawback of some kind. If you're affecting a track, this usually doesn't let you mark or clear at all. And because you got doubles, there's a twist here, an unexpected outcome in addition to the usual result. Often something small, but potentially useful. And again, twists don't replace the usual result, but instead signify something extra and unexpected has happened. Some examples here that the game gives us, just so we can kind of think about twists a little bit for here, is like a player rolls to convince a surly engineer to work on her crew's damaged ship, getting a triumph with a twist. One of the other players suggests the twist could affect the engineer's stock. He has a surplus of the materials needed, which might lower the price of repairs. So these can be good, but they can also be bad. And as this is a disaster, I imagine that this twist is probably not great, right? Twists should never invalidate or override the result of a roll that caused them. A disaster with a twist is still a disaster. Just one with an unexpected narrative extra. My first thought is, of course, the whole structure moves, right?
That was my thought too. Is like I think it's funny to be like, when we walk down here, he's like, oh yeah, like I got chosen to lead this because of my experience, so I'm sure Cal feels like a little pep in my step, and then I think does tumble headfirst down these stairs, falling to the far side of the house, and I think it all shifts or something, right? Like that's the most slapsticky outcome, I guess, but probably the most plausible, whereas one misstep causes this whole thing to shift.
Yeah, I think that is probably the thing that makes the most sense to me here, unless anyone else had another pitch. And so, like you said, I think that is what happens, right? I think, Cal, you step in onto like that balcony first, right? And I think Reese kind of clambers in the window behind you, and then Montclair. And it is as Montclair is stepping through after you, you get a moment where you get a better view of what the inside of this is. And you can see, it's these saloon doors at the front. And you can kind of peer now over the balcony a little bit, right? And maybe that's part of what you're doing. You're kind of like taking that first peek as Montclair is coming in. And that is just enough shifting of the weight. But I'm going to give you like a quick picture of what you see before it all goes wrong, right? Below, there are the remains of chairs and tables smashed, and most of them slid and piled up along the far wall below you. You can see kind of underneath the balcony against that far wall, closer to the ship, like opposite the entrance, there is a bar. There's a long bar, and cabinets full of smashed glass behind it that used to contain bottles that have been destroyed by the shifting of the thing, right? You are in an old drinking hole of some sort.
My God, one of my first times in an old drinking hole.
And there are gouges in the floor where something heavy has slid across its length. And you can follow them to see the source of the music. There is a piano that is pressed against the far wall, like opposite you right now, kind of facing the ground, with a giant like mechanical spindle built into the top of it that is spinning. And you can hear and vibrationally feel the whirring of gears and clockwork machinery resetting and spinning, and a spring slowly untensioning over time as this mechanical piano continues to warble out the tune that you heard earlier. Its keys moving with a ghostly independence, depressing with no hand touching them as it finishes the loop again, finishes the song, and then you hear a mechanical whir, click, 2, 3, 4. And then you feel it, this vibrational sense. There's a kick as the machine starts again. The song picks up. And it's that kick that suddenly, the groan of timber as the branches holding this thing start to snap and break. And the entire building shifts and starts to sink into the waves. And there's a juddering, and I think the building shifts. It's no longer canted, it's completely on its side. And the three of you inside the building are thrown forward. And so I think, Cal, you're the furthest ahead. You're thrown up and over the balcony. And I think you hit the corner of the roof, and where the roof meets the wall on the opposite side, which has now become the floor. Reese, I think you are thrown straight ahead across the other side. You land on the railings of the balcony, which is now below you on the other side, near the staircase. I think Montclair jerks forward, hits the railing of the balcony, flips over it, and lets out a warbled "oh!" as his bandolier snags on the railing and holds him there, keeping him from falling to the floor below. And as you see him suspended, he looks down and he breathes a sigh of relief. And then there's another crack. The wall below him, now the floor, with the weight of all these other chairs and sliding detritus, gives way. It rips open with a groan, and a huge section of that wall breaks apart and falls, scattering into the darkness of the trees below. The piece holding up the piano is remarkably still intact. The piano continues to play. It's painfully loud almost in here now, as Montclair dangles and sways over the yawning chasm. And I think, you're there in the corner, Calafiel. There's just a little bit of wall serving as the floor that you're safe and stable on. Reese, you're on the balcony. You're kind of underneath where Montclair is dangling. And Hex, on the deck, you enjoy a refreshing sip of a very calming tea. You feel this kind of calm wave spread through you just before you hear the crack and groan as the entire structure shifts and sinks below the thrash. And I think we'll pick it back up there next time.